everyone can see it. The inequality. The words sputtered out of Ivara's mouth into the upturned face of the clergyman as he hung from a meat hook speared through his shin. You sit in your spotless towers and big ships while we starve and scrounge in the dirt. The Ministorum cleric's eyes rolled back and his lids fluttered as the pain forced him into unconsciousness again. Ivara snarled. No, you don't get to leave. I can't, so you can't. No. Ivara's anger broke into a sobbing grief. The room was quiet then. The only noises to accompany Ivara's muffled whimpers were the creak of the hooked chain that held the cleric's slowly pirouetting body and the soft flapping wings as a lone cyber cherub hovered in the shadows. Ivara breathed deeply, and wiping her eyes, she composed herself. Carefully, she withdrew a stim shot from her pocket and rolled it between her fingers. He knows why, Ivara muttered, and thrust the stim shot into the cleric's heart. Wide-eyed and with a frothing mouth, the clergyman roared back to life. His panicked eyes darted aimlessly in their sockets. With a vicious backhand, Ivara focused his attention. Look at him! Ivara pointed at the cyber cherub floating quietly in the corner. Naked, save for a stained loincloth, the cherub had the body of a 4-year-old boy. Its diminutive frame was held aloft by an anti-grav generator fused to the flesh of its back. On top of this, a pair of filth-encrusted wings flapped lazily in a mockery of flight. Soft blonde locks stappled down to rest loosely about its shoulders, but instead of framing a child's face, the hair curled around a patchwork of ruined flesh, rusting metal, and a single circular lens. The cherub had a pict cam for a head. The cherub's cyclopean eyes zoomed to focus onto the cleric. He began to sob. Oh, throne! Please, God, Emperor, please help me! Ivara sneered in disgust. Ugh, spare me. Everyone can see your cult for what it is. You tell us that if we grovel and cower beneath you, that we'll be rewarded when we die. But really, you just spin your sick tales of a god emperor to keep us under your boot. I know that now. My new friends taught me that. Ivara continued sermonizing to the cleric. They told me how you have to break us. You have to steal our joy. That if we find even a shred of happiness, you have to take it. Don't you? Don't you? Ivara viciously kicked the cleric in the face. The brute force sent him swinging backwards, and with a resounding crack, his shin snapped, the hook tearing through the weak flesh of his leg, causing him to fall, face first, into the floor. The cleric cried out in agony, his moans choking on the blood flowing from his nose into his mouth. He stared up at Ivara with fearful eyes and coughed, sobbed, and spluttered his excuses. I had no choice. Please, I'm sorry. You must understand. I never wanted to take them, but the deacon, I had to obey him. His is the word of the Emperor. I had to. Shut up. I don't want any of your damned excuses. I want you to tell me why. Through stuttering, gasping breaths, the cleric told her, the deacon, he just preferred them. He just preferred them? He just preferred them? Ivara spat the cleric's own word back into his face. Every other diocese in the city uses fat-grown, synthetic cyber cherubs, but you're telling me the only reason you took children, living children, and turned them into these monstrosities was simply because the deacon just preferred them? The cleric sobbed and tried to roll away from Ivara. No, you look at what you've done! Ivara grabbed the cleric by his hair and pointed his face toward the cherub floating in the corner. You look at what you've done to my son! The cleric stared, horrified, at the cherub in the corner. Its flesh the same shade as Ivara's, its blonde hair with the same wavy curls, its face a mass of metal and glass. Ivara sat on the floor, her tone softening as the truth drained her spirit. My new friends said that you'd done this, but sometimes, even though you can see it, you need to hear it as well. Ivara cradled the cleric's head in her lap and began slowly stroking his hair as she stared at the cherub that used to be her son. They were kind to me, my new friends. When I couldn't find Jakur, my son, they helped me. Ivara took a stained cloth from her pocket and began wiping the blood from the cleric's face. My new friends, they told me of the lies that you teach and what you had done, and the truth of the new God and the change that is coming. Ivara took the cloth and began to slowly push it into the cleric's mouth. The cleric tried to struggle, but his blood loss had made him weak. My new friends told me you don't even have to believe in their God. Their God treats believers and non-believers alike. Their God sees all life as valuable. All life is useful to it. Ivara pinched the cleric's nose between her thumb and forefinger and placed one hand gently but firmly over his mouth. So you see, it's all going to be all right. Ivara began to rock the cleric's clasped head forward and back. A new God is coming. God who will treat us all equally. A God who will tear down your spires and your ships. A God who will end all this inequality and then embrace us all in its 4 strong arms. Yes, a new God is coming, and when it gets here, it will be so great that everyone can see it.
Hi everyone, Colin from ColdOpenStories here. Thank you so much for listening to this production of An End to Inequity. Now, if this is your first time tuning in, we produce a wide range of content, including short stories, immersive audio dramas, and narrations like the one you just heard. This story was first published as a winner in our bi-monthly fast fiction contest. Now, if you aren't familiar, Fast Fiction is our unofficial Warhammer 40,000 writing competition, built around 1,000 words, one theme, one winner. You can find the latest contest prompt over at ColdOpenStories.com. An End to Inequity was written by J.M. Addy and narrated by Diane Casanova. It was published by ColdOpenStories with musical design and production by Pathios Productions. Now, if you'd like to find more of their work, check them out on YouTube at Pathios Productions or Instagram at Pathios_Productions. Thank you so much for tuning in, and please consider sharing what you heard in your network. Tag a friend, boost our signal. It's a great way to build community and share stories worth telling.